In the vast emptiness of space, the starship Odyssey drifted silently through a region of the galaxy that few humans had ever explored. Its mission was simple: to map uncharted sectors and gather information about the universe beyond Earth's reach. The crew of 12 aboard the ship had grown accustomed to long periods of quiet, broken only by the hum of engines and the occasional beep of instruments. But today, something unusual happened. Natalie Brooks, the communication officer, sat at her station, staring intently at her screen. She adjusted the dials on her console, trying to pinpoint the source of a faint but persistent signal. At first, she thought it might be interference from the ship's systems or a glitch in her equipment. But as she listened closer, she realized it wasn't random noise. It was structured, deliberate, almost like a message. Her heart raced as she called out to Captain Alex Carter. "Captain, you need to hear this," Natalie said, her voice steady but tinged with excitement. Alex, who had been reviewing reports in his quarters, arrived on the bridge moments later. He stood behind Natalie, leaning over her shoulder to listen. Through the speakers came a series of rhythmic pulses, interspersed with tones that seemed almost musical. It was eerie yet captivating. "What do you make of it?" Alex asked, his brow furrowed. "It's not natural," Natalie replied. "This is artificial. Someone, or something, is sending this." The discovery sent a ripple of tension through the crew. Lieutenant Daniel Hayes, the ship's engineer, joined them on the bridge, his curiosity piqued. Could it be another human vessel? Maybe a probe we lost contact with? Natalie shook her head. "No, this isn't ours. The pattern is too complex, and the frequencies are outside anything we've used before." Dr. Emily Monroe, the xenobiologist, chimed in from across the room. "If it's not human, then what is it? An alien species?" Alex crossed his arms, deep in thought. The possibilities were endless, and each one carried its own risks. Was this a friendly message, or was it a trap? They couldn't ignore it, though. Humanity had dreamed of making contact with extraterrestrial life for centuries, and now they might finally have their chance. "We need to investigate," Alex said firmly. "Set a course for the origin of the signal." As the Odyssey changed direction, the mood aboard the ship shifted. Excitement mingled with unease as the crew prepared for the unknown. Natalie worked tirelessly to refine the signal, hoping to extract more details. Meanwhile, Daniel ran diagnostics on the ship's systems, ensuring everything was functioning properly. Dr. Monroe spent hours reviewing files on potential alien civilizations, though none matched the profile of whoever, or whatever, had sent the signal. Days passed as the Odyssey traveled deeper into uncharted territory. Finally, they'd reached the coordinates where the signal originated. What they found there was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. A small, desolate planet orbited a dim, dying star. Its surface was covered in jagged mountains and fields of ash, with no signs of life. Yet scattered across the landscape were ruins, remnants of an ancient civilization that had once thrived there. Alex ordered a landing party to explore the planet's surface. As they descended in a shuttle, the crew exchanged nervous glances. The air was thick with anticipation. When they touched down, they stepped onto a world that felt frozen in time. Strange symbols were carved into stone structures, and pieces of advanced technology lay abandoned, half buried in the dirt. "This place is incredible," Dr. Monroe whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "Whoever built this must have been incredibly intelligent." But as they ventured further, they began to notice something odd. Their instruments started behaving erratically, and shadows seemed to move when no one was looking. Something about this planet didn't feel right. And then, just as they thought they were alone, they discovered something that would change everything. A chamber hidden beneath the ruins, containing a being encased in crystal-like material. It was alive, and it was waiting. The chamber was unlike anything the crew of the Odyssey had ever seen. It was deep underground, hidden beneath layers of rock and debris, as if its creators had wanted to protect it or hide it from the rest of the universe. The walls glowed faintly with a soft blue light, casting eerie shadows across the room. At the center of the chamber stood a crystalline structure, tall and jagged, pulsing with an energy that made their instruments go haywire. Inside the crystal was a being, suspended in a state somewhere between life and stasis. Its form was humanoid but alien, with elongated limbs and translucent skin that shimmered like liquid glass. It wasn't moving, yet Alex could feel a presence, something ancient and powerful watching them from within the crystal. He motioned for the others to stay back while he stepped closer, his hand instinctively resting on the weapon at his side. "Is it alive?" Dr. Monroe whispered, her voice trembling. She held up a scanner, but the readings were chaotic, jumping between numbers and symbols that didn't make sense. "It's something," Natalie replied, her eyes fixed on the figure. "I've never seen anything like this." Before anyone could say more, the crystal began to glow brighter. A low hum filled the chamber, growing louder until it vibrated through their bones. Then, without warning, the being opened its eyes. They weren't human eyes. They were pools of swirling light, shifting colors that seemed to pierce straight into their souls. Alex took a step back, unsure whether to defend himself or try to communicate. And then it spoke, not with words, but directly into their minds. Images flooded their thoughts. Stars collapsing, planets burning, civilizations vanishing into nothingness. Pain, fear, and despair washed over them, so intense that several crew members fell to their knees. Amid the chaos, one clear message emerged. Help us, Alex steadied himself, his military training kicking in. He raised a hand cautiously, signaling peace. "We're here," he said aloud, though he wasn't sure if the being could understand him. "Who are you?" The being responded, its voice resonating in their heads. It called itself Kale, a survivor of a once great civilization that had ruled the stars. Long ago, Kal's people had faced a threat unlike any other, a force they called the Void. The Void wasn't just destruction. It was absence, erasure, a force capable of unraveling existence itself. Kal's people had fought valiantly, but in the end, they were overwhelmed. Before their final defeat, they sent out a distress signal, hoping someone, anyone, would find them and continue the fight. "We found your signal," Alex said slowly. "But why now? Why us?" Kale explained that time worked differently inside the crystal. What felt like moments to Kale had been thousands of years in the outside world. The Void was still out there, growing stronger with each passing day. If no one stopped it, it would consume everything, leaving behind only emptiness. Dr. Monroe listened intently, her mind racing. "If we help you, what do we have to do? How can we stop something like that?" Kale hesitated before answering. Stopping the Void wouldn't be easy. It would require sacrifices, alliances, and technologies far beyond what humanity currently possessed. But Kale offered guidance, knowledge, and a chance to unite with other survivors scattered across the galaxy. Together, perhaps they could stand against the darkness. As the conversation continued, the crew grew uneasy. Lieutenant Daniel Hayes, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "Captain, this is insane. We don't even know if we can trust this thing. For all we know, it could be using us." Alex glanced at Daniel, understanding his concerns. Trusting an alien, especially one claiming to come from a dying civilization, was risky. But ignoring the warning felt even worse. The images Cal had shown them, the destruction, the loss, were too vivid to dismiss as lies. "We don't have much of a choice," Alex said firmly. "If what Kale says is true, then sitting back isn't an option. We owe it to Earth, and to every living being in the galaxy, to at least try." Reluctantly, the crew agreed to work with Kale. As they left the chamber, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stepped onto a path with no turning back. The weight of the galaxy's survival rested on their shoulders now, and failure wasn't an option. With Kel's guidance, the crew of the Odyssey began preparing for their next step. The alien had provided them with coordinates to a distant nebula, where other survivors of the Void's destruction were said to gather. It was a risky journey, far beyond any area humanity had explored before, but Alex knew they couldn't face the threat alone. If they wanted to stand a chance against the Void, they needed allies. As the Odyssey traveled through the vastness of space, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare. Lieutenant Daniel Hayes spent hours in the engine room, making sure every system on the ship was functioning perfectly. He didn't trust Kel completely, and part of him still worried this could all be a trap. If something goes wrong out there, he muttered to himself as he tightened a bolt, we're on our own. Dr. Emily Monroe, meanwhile, focused on studying the data Kel had shared. She pored over diagrams and strange symbols, trying to understand the alien technology and the nature of the Void. The more she learned, the more daunting the task seemed. The Void wasn't just a physical enemy. It was a force that defied the laws of physics, consuming entire worlds without leaving a trace. How do you fight something like that? She wondered aloud, rubbing her temples. Natalie Brooks kept monitoring communications, hoping to pick up signals from the nebula ahead. So far, all she heard was static, but she refused to give up. There has to be someone out there, she told herself. Kel wouldn't have sent us if there wasn't hope. When they finally reached the nebula, the sight took their breath away. Swirling clouds of gas glowed in shades of purple and gold, creating a mesmerizing display of light. But beneath the beauty lay danger. The nebula was filled with debris, shattered ships, fragments of planets, and remnants of civilizations destroyed by the Void. It was a graveyard, a grim reminder of what they were fighting against. As they ventured deeper, the Odyssey picked up faint signals. At first, they were weak and distorted, but gradually they grew clearer. Other ships were nearby, each one carrying survivors who had fled the Void's path of destruction. Alex ordered the crew to establish contact, and soon they found themselves surrounded by vessels unlike anything they'd ever seen. Some were sleek and metallic, others organic-looking, as if grown rather than built. Aboard one of the larger ships was Zora, a fierce warrior queen leading her people. Her species, tall and reptilian with shimmering scales, had been among the first to encounter the Void. When Alex introduced himself and explained their mission, Zora eyed him skeptically. "Humans," she said, her voice sharp. "What can your kind possibly offer? You're newcomers to the stars." Alex stood his ground, refusing to let her dismiss them. "We may not have the power or technology of your people, but we've survived challenges before. And we're willing to fight alongside anyone who shares our goal, to stop the Void once and for all." Zora studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. Prove yourselves, and perhaps we can work together." Over the next few days, the coalition began forming. Representatives from different species gathered aboard the Odyssey, sharing knowledge and strategies. Kel played a key role, offering insights into the Void's weaknesses. Together, they devised a plan. Using a combination of advanced technology and raw determination, they would create a device capable of sealing off the Void temporarily. It wouldn't destroy the threat permanently, but it would buy them time to develop a lasting solution. The mission ahead was perilous, requiring them to venture closer to the Void than anyone had dared. As Alex addressed the crew, he could see the mix of fear and resolve in their eyes. They were scared, but they were ready. For the first time, humanity wasn't just exploring the stars. They were fighting to protect them. The coalition's plan was bold, perhaps even reckless. To create the device that could seal off the Void, they needed rare materials found only near its edge. This meant flying dangerously close to the very force they were trying to stop. The crew of the Odyssey knew the risks. Failure would mean not just their deaths, but possibly the end of all life in the galaxy. Yet, as Alex Carter addressed his team one last time before departure, he saw determination in their eyes. They had come too far to turn back now. As the fleet approached the void, the air aboard the Odyssey grew heavy with tension. The nebula around them seemed darker, colder, as if the void's presence drained light and warmth from everything nearby. Strange phenomena began occurring almost immediately. Instruments malfunctioned, giving inconsistent readings. Shadows flickered where there should have been none, and whispers echoed through empty corridors, though no one was there to speak them. Dr. Emily Monroe struggled to focus on her work, haunted by vivid dreams of endless blackness swallowing her whole. She confided in Natalie Brooks during a quiet moment in the lab. "It's like the void is inside my head," Emily admitted, rubbing her temples. "I can't tell what's real anymore." Natalie nodded sympathetically. "I've been hearing things too," she confessed. "Voices calling out, asking for help. But when I try to respond, there's nothing there." Both women agreed to keep these experiences to themselves. For now, the crew was already under enough stress without adding fuel to growing fears. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Daniel Hayes worked tirelessly in the engine room, reinforcing the ship's systems against the void's influence. He noticed small glitches appearing more frequently, lights dimming without reason, control panels freezing, even tools floating unnaturally in zero gravity. At first, he dismissed it as mechanical issues, but deep down, he suspected something else was at play. "This isn't normal," he muttered, tightening a bolt with unnecessary force. "Whatever this thing is, it's messing with us." Captain Alex Carter felt the weight of leadership pressing harder than ever. Every decision he made affected not just his crew but the entire coalition. When strange occurrences escalated, a sudden power outage that left the ship adrift, eerie visions of loved ones long gone, he called an emergency meeting. Standing before his officers, Alex didn't sugarcoat the situation. "We're being tested," he said firmly. "The void isn't just a physical threat. It's attacking our minds, trying to break us. We can't let it win." Zara, the reptilian queen who had initially doubted humanity's role, surprised everyone by stepping forward. "My people have faced this before," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her golden eyes. "The void preys on your doubts, your regrets. It twists what you hold dear until you believe there's no point in fighting. But you must resist. Focus on why you're here, to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Her words struck a chord with the crew. Slowly, they began finding ways to counteract the void's influence. Dr. Monroe developed a technique using sound frequencies to disrupt the whispers plaguing their minds. Daniel installed backup systems to stabilize the ship's operations. Even Natalie found solace in recording logs of their journey, grounding herself in reality by documenting every detail. Despite these efforts, the void's pull grew stronger as they neared its core. Ships in the coalition started dropping out of formation, their crews overwhelmed by despair. Some pilots turned their vessels around, abandoning the mission altogether. Watching this unfold, Alex clenched his fists, frustration boiling inside him. "We're losing them," he said quietly to Lieutenant Hayes. "If we don't act soon, none of us will make it." Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we push forward, Captain. No matter what happens, we finish what we started." With renewed resolve, Alex led the remaining ships deeper into the heart of the void, knowing that survival depended not just on technology or strategy, but on sheer willpower. Together, they braced themselves for the battle ahead, a fight not just for their lives, but for the future of the galaxy. The heart of the void was unlike anything the crew of the Odyssey had ever seen or imagined. It wasn't just empty space. It was a living nightmare, a swirling abyss that twisted reality itself. Time didn't flow normally here. It stretched and snapped, making seconds feel like hours and vice versa. The ships in the coalition moved cautiously, their hulls groaning under the strain of forces they couldn't fully understand. Inside the Odyssey, the crew struggled to maintain focus. Strange visions plagued them relentlessly. Daniel Hayes saw his younger brother, who had died years ago in an accident, standing at the edge of the engine room. "You're not real," Daniel whispered, gripping a wrench tightly. But the figure smiled sadly, reaching out as if asking for forgiveness. Shaking his head, Daniel turned away and forced himself back to work. He knew these images were tricks, attempts by the void to break him down. Dr. Emily Monroe locked herself in the lab, trying to block out the voices whispering her name. She recited scientific facts aloud, clinging to logic as her anchor. "This is psychological warfare," she muttered, jotting notes furiously. "It's exploiting our fears, our guilt." Her hands trembled as she adjusted a piece of equipment, but she refused to give in. If they survived this, she vowed to study the void's effects on the mind. It might be humanity's only defense against similar threats in the future. Natalie Brooks kept monitoring communications, though the signals were garbled and distorted. At one point, she thought she heard her mother's voice calling her home. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I'm not falling for it," she said firmly, adjusting her headset. "Whatever you are, I won't listen." Captain Alex Carter bore the weight of leadership with quiet determination. He watched his crew battle their inner demons while keeping the mission on track. When Zara contacted him via video link, her usually confident demeanor cracked slightly. "My warriors are faltering," she admitted, her scaled face tight with worry. "They see visions of their families, their homeworlds. They want to turn back." Alex nodded grimly. "We all do. But we can't. Not yet." With Kel's guidance, the Coalition pressed onward, navigating through the chaotic expanse toward the Void's core. The aliens' presence aboard the ship had grown stronger, its energy merging subtly with the Odyssey's systems. Kel communicated less through words now and more through feelings, an unshakable sense of purpose, a reminder of why they were fighting. Finally, they reached the center, a massive, pulsating sphere of darkness surrounded by tendrils of light that seemed to writhe like living things. This was the source of the destruction, the force consuming worlds and civilizations. The sight filled Alex with both awe and terror. "This is it," he said into the intercom, addressing the entire fleet. "We've come too far to fail. Follow the plan." The Coalition launched their attack, deploying the device they'd built together. A massive construct designed to emit a frequency capable of sealing off the void temporarily. Smaller ships darted around the sphere, firing bursts of energy to weaken its defenses. Larger vessels provided cover, shielding the Odyssey as it positioned itself near the core. But the void fought back. Ships were torn apart by invisible forces, their crews lost to the void forever. Survivors screamed over the comms as their vessels disintegrated. One by one, allies fell, their sacrifices buying precious seconds for the mission to succeed. As the device activated, Kel made its final move. Its crystalline form dissolved into pure energy, flowing into the Odyssey's systems. "I am with you now," it whispered into everyone's minds. "Together, we will seal the breach." The effort was overwhelming. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and the ship shook violently. For a moment, it felt like they would lose everything. Then, with a deafening roar, the sphere collapsed inward, sealed behind a shimmering barrier. Exhausted and battered, the surviving ships retreated, leaving the void trapped, for now. Back in safer territory, the survivors mourned their losses but celebrated their victory. They had faced the impossible and lived to tell the tale. And though the fight wasn't over, they had proven that even the smallest spark of hope could illuminate the darkest corners of the universe. The aftermath of the battle left the survivors shaken but alive. The Coalition's fleet had been reduced to a fraction of its original size, and the Odyssey itself bore scars from the Void's relentless assault. Panels were scorched, systems damaged, and the crew moved through the ship with weary steps. Yet, despite the losses, there was a quiet sense of pride. They had done what many thought impossible. They had sealed the void, even if only temporarily. Captain Alex Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the view screen as the stars returned to their normal brightness. The oppressive darkness of the void was gone, replaced by the familiar comfort of open space. But Alex knew the victory came at a cost. Too many lives had been lost, too many ships destroyed. He clenched his fists tightly, trying to push away the guilt that gnawed at him. "We did what we had to do," he told himself quietly, though the words felt hollow. Dr. Emily Monroe sat in the lab, surrounded by data collected during the mission. Her hands trembled as she reviewed the information, her mind racing with possibilities. Kel's energy still lingered in the ship's systems, faint but present, like a ghost watching over them. She couldn't help but feel a mix of gratitude and sadness for the alien who had sacrificed itself to save them. "There's so much we don't understand," she murmured to herself. "But maybe this is where we start." Lieutenant Daniel Hayes worked non-stop in the engine room, patching up the damage caused by the void. His face was streaked with grease, and his uniform was torn, but he didn't stop. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw visions of his brother again, clearer than ever. It was as if the void had planted those images deep inside his mind, refusing to let go. "I'm not broken," he muttered under his breath, slamming a wrench against a panel. "Not yet." Natalie Brooks stayed glued to her station, monitoring communications. Though the immediate threat was gone, she remained vigilant, listening for any signs of trouble. The whispers had faded, but the memory of them lingered, haunting her thoughts. She found solace in routine, focusing on her tasks to keep the fear at bay. "It's over," she whispered to herself. "We made it." Zara and her people sent messages of thanks before departing to rebuild what remained of their civilization. Before leaving, Zara approached Alex one last time. "You've earned our respect, human," she said, her golden eyes locking onto his. "Do not waste it." Her words carried weight, a reminder that humanity's role in the galaxy had changed forever. Back on Earth, news of the mission spread quickly. Humanity celebrated its heroes, hailing the crew of the Odyssey as saviors. But Alex knew the truth. The fight wasn't truly over. The void was contained, not destroyed. Someday, it might return, stronger and more dangerous than before. Until then, they had time to prepare, to learn, and to grow. In the weeks that followed, the crew began piecing their lives back together. Dr. Monroe dedicated herself to studying the data recovered from Kale, determined to unlock its secrets. Daniel spearheaded efforts to upgrade the Odyssey's systems, ensuring they would be ready for whatever came next. Natalie helped document their journey, creating records that would guide future explorers. And Alex? He spent hours gazing at the stars, reflecting on how far they'd come, and how far they still had to go. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but the scars would remain. The void had tested them in ways they never imagined, pushing them to their limits and beyond. Yet, through unity, courage, and sacrifice, they had proven that even the smallest acts of defiance could change the course of history. As the Odyssey drifted through space, battered but unbroken, Alex allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, earning both allies and enemies along the way. Whatever challenges lay ahead, one thing was certain: they would face them together. For now, that was enough. The journey back to Earth was long and quiet, a sharp contrast to the chaos of their encounter with the void. The crew of the Odyssey had time to reflect on everything they'd been through, the sacrifices, the losses, and the small victories that had kept them going. Each member carried their own burden, but they also shared a bond forged in the fires of survival. They weren't just colleagues anymore. They were family. When the Odyssey finally entered Earth's orbit, the planet looked more beautiful than ever. Its blue ocean sparkled under the sunlight, and its green continents stretched out like a promise of peace. For Alex Carter, it was a reminder of why they had fought so hard. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it was worth protecting. As the ship docked, crowds gathered to welcome them home. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, and cheers echoed through the air. The crew stepped off the ship one by one, greeted as heroes. Dr. Emily Monroe wasted no time diving into her work. She set up a research team to study the data collected during their mission, especially the fragments of Cal's knowledge stored in the ship's systems. Her lab became a hub of activity, filled with scientists eager to learn about alien technology and the nature of the void. "We can't afford to be unprepared next time," she told her team. "This isn't just about us. It's about everyone who calls this galaxy home." Lieutenant Daniel Hayes focused on improving Earth's defenses. He worked closely with engineers to design new ships and weapons, drawing inspiration from the Coalition's battle against the Void. Though he still struggled with the visions of his brother, he found comfort in keeping busy. "If we're stronger, smarter, faster," he said during a meeting, "we stand a better chance if the Void comes back." Natalie Brooks took on a different role, becoming an ambassador of sorts. She traveled around the world, sharing stories of the mission and fostering connections with other species. Her calm demeanor and first-hand experience made her a trusted voice in discussions about humanity's place in the galaxy. "We're not alone anymore," she often said, "and that's something to celebrate." As for Alex, he spent his days balancing leadership duties with moments of solitude. He visited memorials dedicated to those who had died in the fight against the Void, paying his respects and vowing never to forget their sacrifice. At night, he gazed at the stars, imagining the countless civilizations out there waiting to be discovered or defended. His heart swelled with pride, knowing that humanity had taken its first real step toward becoming part of something greater. The galaxy had changed because of their actions. Survivors from across the stars reached out to Earth, seeking alliances and partnerships. Trade routes opened, ideas exchanged, and friendships formed. Humanity's reputation shifted from cautious newcomers to brave protectors, earning both admiration and responsibility. But Alex knew the peace wouldn't last forever. The Void was still out there, contained but not defeated. Someday, it might return, stronger and hungrier than before. Until then, humanity had a chance to grow, to prepare, and to unite with others who shared their goal of survival. One evening, as Alex stood on a hill overlooking the city lights, he felt a sense of hope. The road ahead would be difficult, but they had faced impossible odds before. Together, they could face anything. The stars twinkled above him, distant yet familiar, calling humanity forward into a future full of challenges and possibilities.